It's a good smile, is that way?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Emily.
And I'm Julia.
And this is the Bad Bitch Podcast.
Welcome back, my lovelies, to the podcast where we talk about pop culture, but we also want to, in the spirit of being bad bitch, address a topic that we think is going to help you wherever you are at life.
Yes.
And
one of our favourite topics ever.
Today, last week we covered a topic which is very close to people's hearts, sleep.
Yes.
This week we're going to be covering boundaries, baby.
Oh my God. I can't actually believe we got this far in the podcast without covering it, because it's one of our favourite topics to cover on the reset. And then I actually thought we'd already covered it.
I know, because you said, but then so did I, because you said in our Bad Bitch Reset, our online course we're doing at the moment, you said let's link the show notes to, or send the girls the podcast, the boundaries one.
The podcast episode.
And I was literally like, yeah, sure, obviously. And then I was like, but I don't actually know
done an episode on it.
Yeah, so strange.
So strange, because boundaries help almost every part of your life, actually including sleep that we talked about last time, because sometimes the boundary has to be, I'm not going to be answering my phone to my friends at 9:30 at night because I need to sleep.
Yes, for sure. So yes, we will get into that.
Let's start with the sponsor.
Yes.
And then the pop culture. Yeah. By the way, Wimbledon's on at the moment, so I've dressed in homage to the fact it's Wimbledon, and we should be there, but instead we're here in insane heat right now.
Yes.
But a bit of summer, anyone watching, a bit of summer dressing.
I love the strawberries and cream at Wimbledon is quite iconic, isn't it?
I love going to Wimbledon. It's the first year I haven't been in a while.
Really?
But I'm one of those people that, I'm very bad at tennis, but I love it. I'm one of those people, I don't follow tennis all year round. And then Wimbledon's on, I become absolutely obsessed with everything to do with it.
I love it though.
And then I lose all interest, because
I think it's the right of being British.
It is, and it's just the most iconic tournament. Everything about it is beautiful.
For sure.
Well executed. We appreciate that.
And talking of well executed,
yes, today's sponsor.
Yeah.
What a great segue, darling. I appreciate that. This week we are sponsored by Addressed, which is run by the amazing Nicci Stanway. And Nicci is a fantastic expert in property management. She's been in the industry almost 30 years, and she helps landlords to let and manage their properties across Kent and the South East. And it's becoming increasingly painful, if you're a landlord, which I am, to rent your properties out. Legislation is changing, the requirements are increasing, and obviously you want to keep your tenants happy and looked after, but we've all got busy lives. So it's great to have someone manage your property, but you want someone who's actually going to be on the ball, on top of it, proactive, not someone you have to chase to get things fixed. And Nicci is the person. I mean, she is so reliable, so organised, she gets these things done, and she's done it for so long. So just go to addressed.ltd if you want help with your property management.
I love that. That was brilliant. And talking of crossing boundaries, should we talk about podcasts? No, fucking hell. Let's talk about pop culture.
But I know, you keep bringing this up, so I feel like at some point there's going to be some podcast pop culture.
I mean, I can recommend other podcasts which are really great to listen to.
Oh, you should.
There are some really cool ones, obviously.
But what's the pop culture you want to talk about today? So the pop culture.
Last week we went to New York with. We talked about Taylor Swift.
Yes.
We're going back to New York.
When you said that, you know what I did in my head? I thought, did we? Did we go to New York? And I forgot. We should go to New York.
Listen, just because you're better at hiding that you're also tired than I am.
No, but we've now had electrolytes today.
Yes.
We're trying to hydrate and do a better job than the last podcast where we were so hot and tired.
Yes, it's so funny because it's like I start talking and literally it's like I feel like I'm instantly sweating, and it's what is the matter with me?
Do you think though that when we use our brains, because we do use a lot of energy, it does actually heat you up? You just don't notice unless when you're on a really hot day. Then you do notice.
I think it's like, okay, we're already like a bit sleep deprived, a bit hot. You can maybe help, and this might help a few other people. A few of my clients and a few of my friends, their digestive system with the heat is just gone crazy.
Yeah, well, it's all to do with circulation.
Yeah.
So when we're hot, we're sending all our blood to our veins, to our extremities, actually to cool down. So you know when it's cold, your hands and feet go really cold because you're bringing all your blood to take care of your vital organs and prioritise them.
Yes.
So when it's hot, you'll see it in my hands now. All my veins have gotten really big because it's so hot at the moment.
I love it. So, I'm like a vascular. I'm like a gym bro.
It's like a map. We've got Madonna arms right now, right? Because we're trying to cool down. So that means the blood's flowing away from your digestive system. Now that blood actually helps your digestive system. It helps the peristalsis, which is where the muscles are contracting and driving things through, helps us absorb all the nutrients out. It helps regulate the amount of water. And so, for example, if you're getting loose stools now, it's because you've got more water in your gut because it's not being drawn out into the blood as much. So there's a lot to do with heat regulation, but also our bodies do like different foods according to the weather. So try changing what you're eating. Sometimes we just need lighter, smaller meals when it's hotter, and you'll notice that. You'll notice your body craving more water-rich food like salad or fruit.
Watermelon, obsessed.
Watermelon, right? But you might try and eat the foods that you normally eat, and your body's not liking them because your body needs it needs more hydrating foods, but sometimes it needs foods that are easier to digest this time of year as well.
That's really, really helpful, I think, to a lot of people. That's helpful to me and a lot of listeners, I think.
Yeah, but also it's massively connected to stress and anxiety. So if you're not sleeping, as we talked about last time, and then you're feeling more stressed, and we talked about the gut being the second brain, so that can also be stress showing up. But it's all about how do we create a really soothing diet? And actually, one of the most soothing diets is the yogic diet. If you're into Sivananda yoga or the Ayurvedic diet, so you might think about taking out spicy foods, dialing down the caffeine, dialing down the raw onions and raw garlic. These foods are quite stimulating.
That was my heel, if anyone could hear that. It's just that wasn't my digestive system.
Side effect there.
That was my heel on the sofa.
The other day, my stomach just did a huge gurgle in the middle of a talk. These things happen. But dialing down on the raw onions, the raw garlic, these things can be a bit overstimulating. Actually focusing on things like rice and lightly steamed vegetables, things that are a bit softer and easier to digest. Again, you might find you might be a meat eater, but just dialing down on the meat a little bit right now and just going for food we're almost thinking like baby food, but like not quite pureed vegetables, but very easy to digest vegetables, rice, sweet potatoes, very simple food, and that might calm your gut right down.
Lovely. I think that's very helpful. Thank you.
I love that. It's like listener questions, but we're in a whole other episode.
Exactly. So let's go
Pop
to
culture.
New
So we didn't go to New York, but we should.
We should go to New York. And our little bit of pop culture that takes us to New York. So back in it was January. I thought it was much older than this, but maybe it's because they were talking about pandemic era events. So back in January 2024, Netflix did a documentary called Skywalkers, a love story, and it's about certain individuals, two in particular. They track and follow in the documentary, who make a career of climbing buildings and then taking pictures. Like,
oh my god!
And when I say buildings, I'm not talking about like your average 4-story. I'm talking like 100 floors plus.
These are people who go on the cranes on the top of the building and then hang off one-handed.
Yes. And then take
Oh,
pictures.
I can't even watch that. That's terrifying.
Do you know, it is terrifying, and there are moments because we all have that it really sets off our primitive brain because there's this very interesting like school of thought that when we're only born with two fears: falling and heights and loud noises. So when you watch something about like heights, you will feel that real, even if you're not like height phobic, you will still feel that like.
Yeah,
it's like when you watch Tom Cruise, you know, is it Mission Impossible 4, and he's on the Burj Al Arab and he's like hanging off the side of the building.
Yeah,
and literally,
and you get vertigo just watching it.
Gosh, every time he slips, you're like, or don't ever watch Free Solo.
Well, no, I've watched that and I had to stop it. I actually was wearing at the time, not because I was watching it, but I was wearing a heart rate monitor. Yeah. And I saw my heart rate go sky high, so I actually stopped watching it halfway through because I thought this is physically bad for me.
Oh, bless you.
But you can watch that and your body starts producing 100%. Adrenaline because your body's perceiving that you're taking the risks that he's taking. So when was that documentary Skywalker made?
That was made. Well, it was released in January 2024, and it follows the two Russian climbers called Angela and Ivan, and they honestly, it's how they become, obviously people building presence through social media, they become aware of each other and how they then start collaborating and how eventually they fall in love. And it's a lovely story. And the images that if you can get over the height thing, literally the images that they produce are just stunning. And I remember seeing the documentary, and it is interesting because a couple of months ago, I was like, I must rewatch it because it was just beautiful. Anyway, just shortly before you had the Taylor Swift wedding, you may be aware, 2 people climbing the Empire State Building.
Completely missed it.
Oh, they climbed it, and then
These 2 people.
and it is these 2 people from the documentary. And then at the top, he proposed to her
Wow.
on top of the Empire State Building.
Wow.
And she's got
So
the
they
most...
like Spider-Man it ran up the outside.
Yes, and the comparison has been drawn with superheroes that they've called them the real life Batman and Catwoman.
Yeah.
And it is just like wonderfully just amazing. It's just brilliant. And the pictures they've taken of getting engaged, she's got the ultimate flex when it comes to a picture of a ring, because it's her hand with her engagement ring overlooking like New York City. And they put a sign up. They flew because it's New York and it was major news. They had like helicopter crews and everything.
Right.
And they flew out a black sign which said it's like the power. Now I'm going to try and remember. It's something along the lines of the power of love is great. It's not that. The power of love is greater than the love of power. When the power of love is more than the love of power, the world will be at peace.
Oh.
I think that's it. Thank you, brain. Although I'm pulling that out of nowhere. But yes, and it's just an incredible event. Obviously, they came down, they were arrested, but then they were released. But that is part of the parcel, because before their Empire State Building adventure and proposal, which has happened now, the documentary focuses on them climbing the building in Malaysia. And they always have to navigate, because these are usually privately owned buildings. Right. They're very protected. Obviously, they don't want people doing this kind of thing.
Well, sometimes they give permission because they want the publicity.
True.
But I think they sometimes make it look like they haven't, because it drives up the viewer figures.
Mm-hmm.
So there's many layers there about, there's obviously romance, there's taking risk, there's trespassing.
Yes.
There's whether you put other people at risk.
Yes.
When you do that. That's a very layered story right there.
Because it's not like it's the same as base jumping. There's no parachutes. They're just like free scaling the building.
How do you feel about that? I mean, how old are they?
They must be like in the, I would say 20s, 30s now.
Right.
It's like the early 30s.
I suppose they both do it, because would you want to be in a relationship with someone whose lifestyle was that dangerous?
Because I suppose people like the world over, you've got these people that are very like highly. It's really interesting as well, because if you really get into it, you have a lot of people especially in like motorsport, you will have people who have those extreme sports that do those extreme things. Like I'm thinking Colin McRae, Ken Block, these people that will push the boundaries all the time, and they have like a supportive spouse in the background. I think it's a different thing, because then when you have children and the children start to get into like Nitro Circus, as Travis Pastrama's children do, that's a whole nother ball game.
Yes.
But it's interesting as well. It's like how like these people, and Michael Schumacher's another really good example, you push the boundaries and you're in a highly dangerous situation every day, and then actually something goes really shit south in something that is a lot lower stakes, like skiing, like
that's because that's one argument. They'll say, well, anything could get you, but it's that weird thing where, you know, we always talk about it's important to accept people as they are. Mm-hmm. So if you do meet and fall in love with someone and they have a very extreme sport, whether it's their hobby or their job, you have to, I think, make a very early decision whether you're going to accept them for that. But then it's a separate decision about if you bring children into that. I just want to call out, by the way, the sound effects. We're recording on a Monday, which we don't normally do. And it's really hot, so we've opened all the windows. And now I can hear the bin men have turned up. So if you hear very weird squeaking in the background, it's all
in real life, baby.
It's real life. It's the recycling being collected. Oh, the glamour. So just calling that out.
But it's because even like I think I would find it very, very hard if I had someone that was in like martial arts or boxing. I think I would find
watching them in a fight,
getting them beaten up. You know, I mean, you know how I will go to war for like all of my friends and like especially my partner.
Would you be climbing in the ring?
I would be the
fighting.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't think I'm cut out to be a partner to someone who does anything extreme either, because I don't deal well with extreme adrenaline anyway, because of having had chronic fatigue before. So I have to manage my adrenaline. Mm-hmm. And I think watching someone you love do something very dangerous would make you have a lot of adrenaline. So I'd be constantly exhausted, I think, by that. Mm. But also, there's we're going to talk next week about compulsive behaviour and obsession. Mm-hmm. And I think to be professionally perform at those levels, like those climbers you're describing or Formula One drivers, you have to be obsessed with 100%. What you're doing. And so then you
Olympians.
Right.
Mhm.
And I admire that. And I think that's a great, I love the commitment and everything. But it means as a partner, you're going to come second to that thing they're obsessed with.
Sure.
And so again, you have to be, maybe I'm saying I need more attention than that, but I don't want to be with someone where their whole focus, or you know, for months of the year, if you're boxing, you have to go off to training camp.
Yes.
So your partner's there and then they're not there. It's the same going out with people in the military. I think it's incredibly difficult. So hats off to anyone who's in a relationship with a serviceman, with someone who is a professional sports person. I think that's very challenging.
Definitely, for sure. And it's like you are always going to, because sometimes it's like, I think it's like everything, it's like boundaries and setting boundaries that are right for you, because there'll be some people, and it depends as well the person you're setting it with, because there'll be people like in the military, you won't even know where they are and they'll be uncontactable. You might even, to be fair, have people in training camps for fights that will be like, some people will set a boundary like, I'm not going to talk to you. Some people will be like, I'm going to check in once a week. But it's working out what you're okay with as well.
Yeah. Yes.
Because it might be that you're fine with that, because you know, like, your brain is good with like, okay, I can't talk to them, but it's only for 12 weeks. And I know that they're in good hands, like they've got their team around them, etc. Or it's not the same of, they've headed off into the woods. I mean, or like Legends of the Fall, I watched this film and I'm like, and when he just like leaves and he's gone for fucking years, sorry, excuse me, swearing.
Yeah, you don't know when
and
he's
he's like,
back.
I might come back, I might not come back. Your brain does not deal well with that.
No, I think you're right. It's if you can have some certainty around it. But I also do think it's that thing that early on in relationships, try and work some of those things out early, which we're going to talk about today in boundaries, and have a real hard think about what's acceptable and what isn't, because it's very easy to see all the great things about someone, but the practicalities of that relationship, well, I'm not talking about the relationship in Legends of the Fall, because it's really impractical, but the practicalities of a relationship, of being with someone who won't be available for weeks on end, you've got to know. Some people, that they'd love that. They'd be like, oh, great, because then I really miss them, and then when we're together, it's fantastic, but I get my alone time. But you have to know yourself.
It's even like, you think about people that like are married to pilots, especially like long haul, because they're there, they're not there. You are basically almost like possibly a single parent, or you're a solo person.
Oh, there are loads of jobs where you're effectively a single parent.
Yeah. So it's setting boundaries and negotiating.
Should we get into it, or is there any other pop culture to cover?
I think that would be it. But yeah, have a look at the pictures.
I don't think I can even look at the pictures. Honestly, it's terrifying. I just, you know what? I go all a bit like a mum when they're young.
Yeah.
I think, no, you should be wearing a safety harness. You know, it's not safe. I want to kind of protect them.
I mean, again, as well, it's like anything in building a skill. They haven't obviously climbed the Empire State Building as their first rodeo. They did practice on like 2-story buildings and work their way up, but they've been doing it a long time.
No, I know, but you just don't want anything bad to happen.
No, mainly as well for the people that are around and see it happen.
Oh my god! Well, that's the moment in Free Solo. We're not going to spoil what happens in Free Solo, and if you haven't seen it, I think it's one of the most incredible documentaries you can watch. Understanding the risk that someone can take, but they're all calculated. But there's a moment in Free Solo when his friend is filming him, and his friend turns away and says, "I can't watch this."
Yeah,
and you think, "Oh my god, this is extremely like this is like on a knife edge, whether he's going to make it or not."
Well, Jimmy Chan is like a seasoned climber and documentary filmmaker, so you know if he's not watching, then probably no one else wants to watch.
No one else wants to watch it, but we all watched it because it was an excellent documentary.
Exactly.
Right, let's talk about boundaries then.
Perfect. Do you want to talk about the importance of boundaries?
Yes. Well, let me talk about why they're important and why sometimes, particularly women, we cannot be great at them.
Yes.
I think it's always, you know, in coaching we always say, like, what my answer is like, stop, think, grow. It starts with self-awareness. Understand, like, stop, think about where you are, and then do the growth. Whereas we're like, just grow.
Yeah.
Like, no, let's say take a moment.
Pause.
Let's take a moment to understand why boundaries are important and why they're hard before we go straight into let's set a load of boundaries and it'll be great. So boundaries are really important because we're telling people, letting people know how to treat us. So it's very important in terms of keeping us safe. We're telling someone this behavior is okay, this behavior isn't okay. And so there's just like a basic safety feature that's like about personal space. Like, don't enter my personal space. Don't touch me in a way that's inappropriate. Don't speak to me in a way that's threatening. You know, there's some kind of basics around that. But generally in life, the way you're treated by other people reflects how you've trained them to treat you. And one of the best ways to train people is by having boundaries. And boundaries are just like a little mild electric fence. And when someone touches it, you're just like,
yeah.
And they're like, okay, that's telling me where the edge is, right? And actually, often when people have new relationships, and I'm not talking about romantic necessarily, but like you've got new colleagues, everyone's trying so hard to be nice at the beginning that they let everyone cross the fence, and then later they try and put up the electric fence, and someone tries to run straight through it, and they hit it, and they're electrocuted, and then they're annoyed at you because they're like, "Wait a minute, why am I
wasn't there before?
That wasn't there before. I was allowed to do that before. Now I'm getting electrocuted." So it teaches people how to treat you from the beginning. So it's really important for safety, but also it gives us confidence. If we can set a boundary and then someone else respects it, it's telling our brain we can stand up for ourselves. It's okay to say no. Now, why do we need this? Well, women in particular, we used to operate in a tribe. So it was very important for us to all get on. And so our number one driver was actually making sure everyone was in harmony over our individual needs. So that's where boundaries get tricky, because we're really concerned with, is everybody happy? And is everyone interacting with me in a pleasant way? And we'll often be subconsciously prioritizing that over, where have you hit my electric fence? Where's that boundary? What's made me uncomfortable? So women, big generalization, but women generally will let themselves be a lot more uncomfortable before they enforce a boundary than men will be.
Yeah.
And therefore, women are more likely to be mistreated or taken advantage of, or not even deliberately taken advantage of, just start saying yes to things. And we talk about this in the reset a lot, because they end up, their plate's too full. They end up having to do all their work, everyone else's work, taking care of everyone's problems. They become the problem solver. So everyone calls them every time there's a problem. They expect them to fix it. They become everyone's agony aunt. And if they haven't set some boundaries early on, they're not giving themselves any space to breathe. So we talked before about sleep. Well, if you make yourself available to everyone anytime, then you run out of time to do your things. Then you start doing your to-do list late at night. And then you're stressed. You don't go to sleep on time. You start sacrificing your sleep, your well-being. So this is why boundaries are really important. And it's also appreciating why they're hard. And then one of the other things we talk about in the reset is not just about the fact we're in the tribe. A lot of it is about the media and how they project and present how women should behave, and women prioritizing the needs of others. Now, we should prioritize the needs of small children, 100%, because they can't take care of themselves. But beyond 7 or 8, there starts to be a balance of prioritizing your needs over theirs, right? And with adults, we should all be responsible for our own needs. But there's a lot of media messaging still about the importance that women should prioritize others, that they shouldn't be selfish. And then there's your early experiences. So if you've had one parent who wasn't very boundaried, you might find that difficult. Or maybe you had very demanding parents and you became a real people pleaser. And people pleasing and boundaries kind of go in conflict, because people pleasing is like, everything you ask me for, I'm going to say yes. You invite me to that party, I'm going to say yes. You ask for my help with this, I'm going to say yes. You agree a plan with me and then you decide to change it, I'm going to say that's fine. But the boundaries are like, actually, that doesn't suit me. So can we do it a different way? And so again, if you're a real people pleaser, then that's something to be aware of, that you're probably not setting boundaries where you should. Now, today we're going to talk about where you should set them, because there are people who they put up is not a mild electric fence. They're tasering.
Yes.
Everyone who gets within 5 meters of them.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can be too boundaried.
Yes.
And that has consequences. But then there are also the people who make their electric fence out of a daisy garland that's not electrocuted, and then they let everyone walk all over it, and then they're burnt out, and then we end up being resentful, and then we
100%.
swing all the way to tasering. So we're going to help you today to not taser anybody, but just have some gentle, enforceable boundaries.
Definitely. And it's very important for your brain as well, because your brain likes to know, like we said about, it's cool if you know that you can't talk to someone for, say, like a 12-week fight camp. It's the same with our boundaries, and like our brain needs to know what we deem to be acceptable and not to be acceptable, because then it's one thing that we don't have to think about. It's kind of a given. It's not something that we have to resolve when we're trying to firefight and do all the other bits of thinking that we have to do throughout the day. And also, every time we say yes to something that feels a bit shitty and not that good, it starts to build that internal, if we can avoid having that inner critic and that voice start to dial up in our head, where it's very like, oh, but you don't really want to do that. You always allow people to walk all over you. You're always doing, when are you going to get to do what you want? When we have boundaries, that doesn't allow room for that conversation to happen because it's not happening.
Yeah, we're encouraging other people to respect us, and then we respect ourselves because our brain watches us set the boundary and enforce it. Whereas if we either don't set one or we set it and then we let people break it, our brain realizes we're not respecting ourselves. And it's interesting because then that erodes our confidence, erodes our self-respect, but also it's almost like sometimes you open the floodgates and then you just kind of let everybody do whatever they want. And sometimes we see that actually in abusive relationships, where suddenly you see someone who formerly seemed like a strong person, they relinquish boundaries in their romantic relationship, and then they just relinquish them everywhere. And you think, why is this person letting everyone walk all over them? And it's because their brain has just said, oh, there's no point even having boundaries because I can't enforce them.
And with your brain as well, it's just very like, it then starts to obviously let that adrenaline, like the stress comes in, then we start to feel shitty. And it's just like our brain just does not do well with not having any kind of like formalized structure.
No, but if you've not been a boundaried person, trying to put them in for the first time can feel wildly uncomfortable.
100%.
Because your brain's thinking, well, if I put a boundary in with this person, the brain goes to the extreme. It thinks, well, that person's going to reject me. That's going to be the end of my relationship or the end of my friendship, or this person will judge me, or my employer won't like me anymore. And it completely catastrophizes where that boundary is going to lead you.
Do you know what also is as well is sometimes that if your brain is like, it's not safe for me to set boundaries or it's not good, sometimes it will try and uphold them in situations where it then demonstrates that it wasn't good for you to have that boundary.
What's an example of that?
A good example being like, I always like every time this is like just off the top of my head, say for example, like I'm not going to answer my phone to my friends 9 o'clock at night, but you've been in a habit of doing it. And then there's a situation perhaps where that your brain will just remember the one time that it went really wrong. So say there was one time when she called at 9 o'clock at night and actually she was on her way to hospital and it was the one time you needed her. That is the one time your brain will go, well, see, that was the time you chose to do it and you should have done it because now you're a bad person because she ended up in hospital.
Or the other thing is you put a boundary in and then someone really overreacts.
Yes.
And then your brain says, see, this is why there's no point doing it because it's not worth it.
Yeah.
I mean, I do generally, it's good to have like agreements with your friends about how they contact you, because generally with my friends, during the day, if they call, it's probably social. But if any of my friends call at night, it is only because it's an emergency, and then I definitely answer it.
Yeah.
So that's because you get the boy who cried wolf, don't you?
100%.
And then you do feel bad. Like the other day, a friend of mine called me with some very exciting news that I won't share on the podcast. And she called me and I was in the supermarket. And I immediately answered, because I thought there was something wrong.
Yes, you
do.
And
then she told me this amazing news, and I was squealing in Sainsbury's. I was completely embarrassed myself, but it was great. It was really happy news. So it is good to kind of but that's even like a boundary with how people can communicate with you.
Yes.
You know, I've got some friends where if their parents call them and they don't answer immediately, their parents get upset with them, and that's setting up like a whole anxiety loop. So boundaries isn't just you do this thing I don't like, I tell you. Boundaries can just also be kind of setting agreements about time, about this is, you know, if you need to speak to me during working hours, can you send me a WhatsApp? Because if I see your number come up at work, I might panic and think there's been a problem.
Yes.
Right? Or it's about saying to someone, this is how much time I can spend with you, but I need my Sunday afternoons to myself to recharge. So we're not always waiting for someone to hit the fence. It's really healthy to just say to people in our lives, by the way, guys, I'm putting up an electric fence around my garden.
Exactly.
So before you run into it, here's where it lives. And this is what's involved in it. Before emotions get high, before someone inadvertently touches it, you're kind of setting yourself up for success by expressing what the boundaries are.
Exactly. Because just like your brain wants to know what the like hard limits are and the soft limits and like where its heading is, it's very helpful that you give other people like the same thing. It's like, this is what's going to be happening. Otherwise their brains may be freaking like, she's dead in a ditch. She's not answering. She's dead in a ditch, you know?
Yes. Well, that's, you know, we talk about that on the reset where sometimes, and we see it on the reset, people suddenly go through that experience and they suddenly realise that they've been letting people walk all over them. So they go from being people pleasers to being bad bitches overnight, which we love. And they're suddenly like, wait a minute, I'm putting all these people before me. I'm not prioritising my well-being, whatever. but the pendulum can swing too far,
Mm-hmm.
and suddenly they're setting boundaries all over the place, but not letting people know.
Exactly.
And then people are suddenly like, wait, why are you suddenly behaving so differently? Why am I needs not being met? And one of my favorite examples is a friend of mine who went on strike, and she overnight went from taking care of all the housework and doing everything for everyone, but feeling underappreciated, to not lifting a finger for a whole month, which I think she's an absolute legend for doing that.
I love this.
But that was like a really good example of where, because the boundaries hadn't been enforced along the way, she just got so fed up, she went on strike. Now, the house was a real mess for a couple of weeks, but then eventually everyone got it,
yeah.
and everyone in the family stepped up, which is great. And then there was a kind of recalibration, but we don't want to get to those kind of extreme scenarios. So what are some ways that you work with your clients when they suddenly realize they're not being very boundaried? We often talk about like the baby steps.
Yes.
What are the first baby steps to starting to become more boundaried in a way that feels comfortable for you, doesn't freak everyone else out, helps your brain acclimatize, see some success, and then kind of keep growing from there?
I think it is exactly as you said. It's like when you're setting those boundaries for the first time, obviously it takes you time and other people time to get used to it. But it's like, what is that first small step? Is it that, say you're asked to 10 things, that you say no to just one of them? Is it that you can maybe whittle it down to like, I have one evening of the week which is sort of sacrosanct,
Yes.
and it doesn't matter what I get asked to. And it's having also as well, I think, having, when it comes to being asked to social things and you maybe feel like you're a bit overwhelmed, you don't want to say yes to everything, having like little templates of like go-to phrases you can say.
Yes.
Having pre-rehearsed phases that you've come up with when you are feeling calm, feeling in logical bad bitch brain, rather than emotionally slightly stressed, and you're like, oh, I just got to say yes because, you know.
Okay, so someone comes up to you at your desk.
Yes.
You've been everyone's help desk the whole time.
We know how this panned out for me.
Everybody comes to you with the problems because you're
Yes.
really competent. You always help them.
Yes.
And then you realise that hijacks all your time and you don't get your work done and you
Yeah.
end up working later. So what's a good example of a little stock phrase if I come over and I say, oh, Julia, this client's really unhappy about X, Y, and Z. Can you fix it?
I would say, you can say, can you tell how good I am at setting boundaries? And
You don't even want to do it right now with me in a fake setting.
No, I would literally say to them, like, I can't even say it on the podcast. It's something along that I would say something like, I am just involved with this right now. I'm happy to give it a quick take, but I can't give it a deep dive right now.
Okay, so you're going to time limit
Yes.
it. Whereas I would go straight to I'd go straight into coaching because I'm a coach. So I'd go straight into, what have you tried already?
Yeah.
What do you think you can do next? Right. So I'm pushing it 100%
What would you
back.
do if I'm not here?
Well, thing is, I'm not sure I'd go straight to that because that can feel a little bit confrontational. So I'd just say, what have you tried? What have you done so far? Or I might just say, I would love to help you with that right now. I've got some urgent work to work on. Can you come back to me tomorrow? And if they're like, no, it can't wait, just say, well, is there someone else you can ask?
Yes.
So I'm just like batting it away,
Mhm.
but with questions. And you're saying, I'll help you. But that's a great one, is to say, I've got 5 minutes. Like sometimes if someone calls you and they say, can you help with X? You just say straight away, I've only got 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And they're like, should I call you back later? Say, no, let's just do it now.
Yeah.
You put a boundary on, keep an eye on the time and say, right, time's up. But like,
Yeah.
I hope that's helped and let me know how you get on tomorrow.
Yeah.
So pushing it down the road is a really good one.
Yes. And also I think as well, it's like having that, like, if you can, that explore with, if it's people coming to you in a work scenario, is it urgent? Is it needing to be dealt with now?
Yes.
Or is it because we are all, as people in this space, where, especially in the world with, like, you've got Teams, you've got Zoom, you've got WhatsApp, you've got email, and it's like we've been driven into this space where as soon as it comes in, we feel like we have to respond.
Yes.
And it's like the immediateness of communication has brought like an urgency to how quickly we should respond. But assessing, like, in that situation, the perceived urgency the same as the actual urgency?
Yes.
Is it really everything is on fire, or can it wait until we got time tomorrow, the next day?
Well, and also that person's emergency isn't your emergency.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Because
that.
they've made themselves late and now it's up to the line. But you've planned your time better.
Mhm.
So it's again just thinking, should I be in a panic about this, or is this
Yes.
their responsibility and therefore they need to sort it out?
Exactly.
I want to give you a live example because someone brought this to me the other day, not in coaching, in personal setting. What do you do when someone invites you to a hen do
Yes.
overseas? It's very expensive.
Yes.
It's with a load of their other girlfriends who you don't know. this is not how you want to spend your holiday budget.
Yeah.
What do you do? How do you boundary yourself on that one?
It's really, really hard. It depends how well you know that person. It depends how, because also as well, what I find nowadays, thank God in some ways, is that people will have onshore and offshore hen dos.
What? They're having 2?
And if not, maybe like 3?
Oh my God, this is getting so excessive. Can we calm down on the hen do? That's what I want to say.
But it's like, if I know the person really well, it would, and especially it depends on like your circumstances, because it might be that, for example, you are a business owner, you have your business objectives, you have other things to do, and they might be employed or whatever the situation. I would probably go something along the lines of, I would really love to like come with you, but right now I'm just really having to like work on the business. I've got a lot of other things that need to have my like priority. However, I would love to take you out for dinner or a night away, just so we can spend some time, just so we can celebrate, because obviously it's really important we acknowledge this.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, is you're saying no to that, but you're saying you're still important to me.
Yeah.
I want to spend time with you. And and even with other things, maybe less important than a hen do, just saying to someone, I'm really sorry, I can't afford the time right now.
Yeah.
Because I'm up against it. And I also think, I know sometimes we're shy about talking about money, but just saying, I'm really sorry, expenditure's very tight at the moment. I'd love to come, but let's maybe do something further down the line, or let's plan something just together. And one of the things that is really useful about boundaries is it helps you see who the other person is.
100%.
Now, sometimes we're not going to like what we see. So if you say to a really good friend, I can't afford your £1,000 hen do in Vegas, and they react really badly. Why are you looking at me like that?
No,
is that going to be your hen do? It's going to be £1,000 hen do in Vegas.
No, because I'm like, if you don't want to go, I'll go.
Yeah, okay. You want to go to Vegas.
Here's
Example.
Another really good one. It's like, I will send my substitute friend who also knows no one on the hen.
Can I send my ambassador for me? That's brilliant. I love that.
But yes, please continue.
I can't even remember what I was saying. You obviously want to go to Vegas. Let's just go to Vegas.
If someone says
last
to
time
you,
it was New York, now we're going to Vegas.
Vegas would be great. The Bad Bitch podcast goes stateside.
Guys, oh my, okay, we need you to like, share, subscribe, so we can go on a stateside tour and bring the podcast with us. 100%. Let's do it.
It shows you
who they are. If the friend freaks out, but first of all, if you can see it coming, try and don't wait till they invite you or their friend invites you. Try and head it off at the pass and have a proactive conversation early on, before the emotions get too high. But if they react really terribly because you're not going to spend £1,000 and your holiday time on their hen do when you have other priorities, like you're saving for a house or what have you, then you've got to question how they're valuing the relationship.
Quite.
And I think sometimes we're afraid to pull boundaries because we don't want to sabotage relationships. But deep down, we know it's not that great a relationship. But we have such a primal need to belong with people that people hold on to bad relationships, romantic friendships, work friendships all the time, because they just don't love the idea of like losing that relationship, even if it's kind of quite low value or it's not reciprocal. But your brain is watching, and it's watching how people treat you. And, by being boundaried, you might end up reducing your group of friends, but you might end up with the most amazing friends in the world who respect you, who respect your boundaries, who will understand when you say, I can't do this. I actually messaged a friend this morning and owned and said, I've been so busy. I don't feel like I've been a good friend. When can we catch up? I just owned it. And they were like, no, we get that you're busy. Like, it was, those kinds of friendships, those people understand.
100%.
And will accept when you have to say, you know what? I'd love to come out, but I'm absolutely terribly tired. I just need an early night.
Yeah.
So it's hard, but I think ultimately you end up with better relationships, better friendships. You feel more confident and you'll be more respected by the people around you.
Definitely. And I think the ones like the hen do thing, anything like that, declining those things are quite like high stakes for like boundaries. So practicing them, like you said, we always say this on the Bad Bitch Reset, practicing establishing boundaries with people have your back and who aren't likely to react in a bad way, and practicing it with like low stakes, like, I can't come to Pilates tonight, I'm really tired.
Yes.
Fine, because then it's building like real world evidence that you can do it, and you're providing your brain with like, the evidence that you can set boundaries and it's safe for you to do so. And
you've trained that person that you can say no to them.
Yes.
I think to wrap up, let's give a really good example that we've covered in the reset, where one of the best things is just to defer it.
Mm-hmm.
So someone does that really annoying thing where they say, what are you doing on the 20th of August?
Yes.
And you're like, oh my God, this is a
I
trap.
might be free. I might not
I
be.
might be free. It really depends what you're going to invite me to.
If we're going to Vegas,
So
I'm free.
So you say.
If we're going to a knitting circle, maybe not so much.
Right, but someone else would be like, knitting circle,
Yes.
hell yes. So, first of all, you say, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
What did you have in mind or what
Yes.
were you thinking of?
Mm-hmm.
They then tell you, even if it's a hell yes, practice saying, that sounds really great, that sounds really interesting. Can I check my diary and get back to you?
Yes.
So it's the first step is just practice delaying your response, because also it might be a hell yes, but when you step back and look at your week, and I'm doing this with my hands like a book, but we used to look across a diary, which was really helpful for our brains, because
See the whole view.
we could say it's like, well, that's in a sandwich between 2 workshops and 2 nights out, so I can't say yes to that. But as you look at your phone just on one day, you're like, oh, there's a big space. You forget that the next morning you have to be up at 6 a.m. to get a flight somewhere. So step back and say, I'll get back to you. Then go and look at your whole week or your whole month and ask yourself, is this good for me? And this is where I love goals. We talk about goal setting. Does this help me achieve my goals in my relationships as well as work? Is this something that I want to commit to? Or actually is my goal this week to improve my health and therefore it's a no? So just buy yourself that time and then go back calmly with a response. And the right people will understand that, and they might learn that next time they invite you to something, they should actually tell you what they're inviting you to.
Exactly that. And when it comes to like saying, if someone asks you to something, I think it works well in work or family or friends. It's like, thank and acknowledge them.
Yes.
And then say your polite decline.
Yeah, I mean, I did it with someone recently where I said, I love that you invited me to that. Thank you so much. That's not my thing.
Yeah.
But next time you're organising an activity, please do invite me again.
Yeah.
So I'm making sure they know that's not like I don't want to hang out with you as a person. That's just, that activity is not how I want to use my time right now. But I love hanging out with that person.
Yes.
And just because you're friends with someone, you don't have to love doing all the same things as them.
And I think also, like with boundaries, you feel like the figures that, which are amazing and they're pioneers, and I think we can aspire to be like this. But the people that are seen as being very boundaried are our mother of the podcast, who doesn't know that we even exist, Anna Wintour.
Right.
You know, Madonna, Lady Gaga, all these really powerful people that just like, absolutely not. It's a hard no.
Yes.
But if you're not used to practicing that, that's like the 10 we're looking to sort of just practice. So acknowledge, delay, all these things just when you're starting to explore, and you can do it.
And you can get to the 10, because I started in banking being terrified of saying no to people, and then I definitely got to 10. And people sometimes would find it quite abrupt how boundaried I could be. But then they really respected me, and they understood that if they came in with an unreasonable demand, they weren't going to get a yes, and they had to build a case, or, you know, it makes people make a bit more effort. So, you know, I think but again, it's understanding the context that you're in.
Mm-hmm.
On a trading floor, the way people behave, you have to be uber boundaried. If I then treated all my friends like that, they'd just be like, why are you being so harsh and cutting, and just with a look, just cutting that, like, just, absolutely.
The hand.
So I think, exactly, cutting them dead. I think you got to situate and contextualize it. But I think always, if it's people you're going to spend a lot of time with, whether it's colleagues or in your personal life, try and at some point sit down with them and help them understand where those boundaries are and understand why they're important to you. What does that give you? What does it help you with if they don't suddenly try and talk to you about their job at 10 p.m. at night because they want to unburden themselves? And you say, I really want to be there and listen to you talk about your work, but I need to go to sleep in a calm state so I can empty my stress bucket.
Yes.
So it really helps me if we have that conversation earlier, if you can save it till the next day. And next time you do that, I'm going to ask you to save it. And it's not that I don't want to listen to you. It's that I'm going to be a much better partner when I've had a good night's sleep. Now, that's me being perfect, because I don't always say things like that. But it's like, help me help you. Help people understand why that boundary helps you, how it will help them. And then they're going to be much more open to it than if you're just like, why the fuck are you talking to me about work? I'm trying to get to sleep. Can't you see how tired I am? Why do you think your work's more important than me? Like, do you know what I mean? This is what happens. That's the tasering. You're getting the taser out. You're setting fire to them. And they're like, oh my God, I just wanted to talk to you about Barry at work, Barry in accounts who's pissing me off.
Because they don't have the context for the situation of everything you've been through in the day.
And they don't understand why that boundary is so important to you. So that's what we're saying. We're trying not to taser anybody. Yeah. We're going to leave it with that.
No tasering.
Hopefully
we've
just saved some relationships right there.
Yeah. All right, my darlings. Well, thank you so much for being with us. As always, just let us know if you want us to cover any particular topic, and if you could just continue to support our little pod by liking, sharing, and subscribing. We would be eternally grateful to you. And we look forward to seeing you next week.